Hey everyone, welcome to our session, Developing the Leader Within You 2.0. And this week's session is Creating Positive Change. My name is Robin Freeman, and I'm the director of the University of Arkansas Currents. So we've had some great discussions. I know today will not be any different. I've really enjoyed the opportunity to go through these chapters with you each week. So far, we've done influence, which was chapter one. Chapter two was priorities. And then last week, we talked about character. So today is creating positive change. So part of what we want to do in our discussion today, I know that click that too soon. Part of what we want to do today is ask you the question about what really resonated with you. I'm looking for my notes. It was in the email that I just sent out today. I apologize for not sending it earlier. But in the email, it asks you the questions. What are your favorite quotes? Or a favorite quote, a favorite story. If you had a chance to read through chapter four, what can you apply to your life? What can you change about yourself? And what can you teach to someone else that may be able to help them? So that may include, um, your staff. What can you share with them that you may be able to help them? So let me open it up and ask you any quotes, stories, things that you've taken away thus far that you think can help you or it can help you, someone you work with, or something you've taken away thus far, especially as it relates to change, creating positive change for yourself. Anything rise to the top for you that you want to share? No.
Hey, Jennifer, am I the only one on here?
You are not.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's Emily, Shannon, and tell me your name.
Jennifer.
Jennifer, I'll change your name, so I
Okay, I'm
won't
sorry.
call
I'm
you
driving again.
ARSville Region One, is I think is what it's saying.
Okay, I'm
Uh,
sorry.
no, it's good. I'm glad you're on. Don't take your eyes off the road.
Okay.
So look, we'll come back to that and we'll go ahead and get started on today's session. So he opens up with this story about Lou Holtz, and we all know and love Lou Holtz because of his time in Arkansas. And we heard just recently about his passing. My brother, one of my brothers, had the opportunity to play for Coach Holtz when he was at Arkansas. And so he opens up this story in chapter four, this story about his time with Lou Holtz, playing in Augusta on the golf course. I live in Bella Vista, not because I love golf. I don't know anything about golf. It was just the most affordable place for us to move to in 2022. And like I said, I'm not a golfer, but this is definitely a golfing community. And he has this whole story about um, their time on the golf course, not so much about the golfing, but what he learned about Lou Holtz as a leader. And he called him a U-turn leader, meaning that whenever he went into a football program, it was usually a program that had a losing record. And within a year, he turned that program around. So he was a U-turn leader. He was able to stop the momentum that was going downhill, and he was able to turn it around and start a positive momentum for change. So he was a U-turn leader. Do you know any U-turn leaders? Anybody come to mind when you think about organizational change? I'm trying to think as I ask you of a U-turn leader. I think when I worked in community action, Mr. Cunningham was probably a U-turn leader. He was able to create positive momentum for the organization. It was definitely headed in the right direction. Anyone come to mind for you?
You're asking about a U-turn leader that we both
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, someone to stop the negative momentum and make change in a positive way and create positive momentum. No? Oh man, that's terrible, right? We're gonna have to,
I'm gonna nominate all four of the ladies that are.
yes, thank
Let's just,
you.
we'll all be U-turn leaders.
So maybe that's the question I should be asking. When you inherited, I know you all came into your positions probably recently, or maybe you've been there for a while. Um, was it positive momentum? Was it negative momentum? Or was it just momentum?
I don't think there was any momentum in my office, particularly the attitudes. I'm speaking carefully, but the attitudes and the behaviors and the motivations and all of the things of my team were crap.
It's okay to say it is negative momentum, Emily.
I mean,
It's not, we're not gonna tell on you.
It was.
We're not
Well,
reporting this to anybody.
I think everyone in the office, I think everyone on my team would agree with that. Like they were all just kind of existing, floating.
Mhm.
So yeah.
I mean, and when it's negative like that, sometimes that's all you do is you're just showing up, doing what you got to do, and going home. And it feels, it's, I don't know, it's, I don't want to say you're a zombie state, but you're just kind of existing, and yeah, it's not a great place to be. What about you, Shannon? Negative, positive, somewhere in between?
Somewhere in between. I think with me it was the exact opposite of Emily's situation. Everyone loved our previous regional manager, loved her, and when she got promoted, it was a shock to everybody in the office. I mean, I only knew a couple of days before they did. And it was just a shock to everybody. And then it's been rough. We'll just say it's been rough ever since because I'm not her. I'll never be her. And there's been some personalities. We actually had to talk about it in staff meeting this Monday. And I had to tell people, if you are that unhappy here, maybe you should find jobs elsewhere. So we're kind of in that stage.
Yeah, I mean, I feel your pain there because when I became director of UA Currents, Jeannie Miller had been the director. I said, I don't know, probably since the 70s, 74, whenever it started. So it was definitely a founder syndrome that the folks here had. And it was and I'm pretty slow to warm up and get to know things. I didn't come in making big changes and doing things. I was really taking my time trying to figure things out. But it was very much the same mentality. You are not her. She was a mother hen. She kind of coddled everyone. I'm not saying it's a bad thing in any way. It's just that's not me. I don't do any of that. I'm completely opposite of that, in fact. I'm like, oh, get off of me. You lean on my shirt. Ugh, I hate that. I'm not a coddler. Not at all. So my approach was never going to be right. It was never going to be what people wanted. So yeah, I feel that pain, and eventually it did lead to people leaving because I can't contort myself into being someone that I'm not. If that's the biggest issue, then yeah, let me help you find a place that's more suitable for you. Um, and that kind of brings us to the overarching. I'm sorry, Jennifer, did you want to talk about your momentum? Is it negative, positive? What do you think?
It was a lot like yours and Shannon's. It was very mixed. They loved the previous Ram. There were a couple of people that it was extremely difficult with. They should have probably been gone already, but they ended up leaving on their own will. It just was very painful until they left. But them leaving after they left, it stopped the toxicness that
Mhm.
was spreading. So
Mhm.
you could feel it start to change.
Oh yeah. And it only takes one or two people, and that kind of goes back
Hmm.
what we talked about earlier in the training, the 80-20 rule, like 20% of the people will
Exactly.
create 80% of the havoc in your office.
Right.
And it also brings up this overarching point about change. It's never easy. It's never pleasant. Um, and sometimes people, it can be hurtful, it can, and I don't mean like, um, I don't know. I'll just leave it at that. You're gonna go through change. You're gonna go through some things. And it's like if I want to lose 20 pounds, which is a lifelong goal, then I'm gonna have to suffer some things. I'm gonna have to do some things differently. We have to change, and change is not easy for folks. Change is not everybody processes change differently. But the key is we got to do something differently if we want a positive outcome. If we want to change the negative momentum, we want something positive to happen. We have to be proactive, and everything, the things that are bad that we want to change that need to be fixed, it's not going to happen unless we do something differently. So let's see, what else did he talked about Lou Holtz leadership and how he made change happen with those teams. His quote that Lou shared was, I've coached good players, I've coached bad players. I'm a better coach with good, well, I mean, I'm a better leader with good supervisor. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do about that. So he was a great leader. He was a great coach. Um, and he said that Lou had three qualities that all coaches possess. He didn't take anything for granted. He was an excellent teacher. He was superbly organized. He coached six different organizations over from 1969 to 2004. The teams went all from having losing streaks to having winning streaks. But he was willing to do what needed to be done to turn around a group of people who were headed in the wrong direction. But it kind of goes back to what Shannon said. He had to get the right people on those teams. He had to get the right mentality on those teams. So what do you see are the qualities you need as a leader to change the direction of your team? And Shannon's already mentioned one. You got to get the right people, right? Jennifer said that too. You gotta have the right people on the team.
Well, they have to, it doesn't matter what kind of leader you are, your team has to be willing to make the needed changes. And
Mm-hmm.
some are and some aren't.
You
And
gotta be
that's
ready
the,
for it.
you know, and a lot of people, and I don't know if the other managers in the room have experienced this, but individuals that have been with the agency or with the state in general for a long period of time are very non-pliable.
Mm-hmm.
They're set in that this is how we do things. And I mean, I mean, I left for a couple of years, but since I started with the agency in 2014 and the changes that have happened and how we do things and the expectations of us are vastly different just in that period of time. So over the past 20-25 years, I mean, if those people aren't willing to change and adapt and learn new things and they're still stuck in what they were doing when they started with the agency in 1990,
Mm-hmm.
then, we have issues.
Yeah. We had a training and a couple of weeks ago with a group in Texas, and their homework assignment was to write an essay about what are the skills you need as a leader in VR to be effective. What does it take to be an effective VR leader? And I think 90% of the essays I've read, um, someone talked about adaptability. Like you got to be willing to change because VR is changing all the time. Regulations, policies, the way we do things, everything's changing. So you can't get stuck in how we did things 20 years ago. There's no living there. You have to be willing to adapt and do things differently because this program changes all the time. I see Lisa is on. I apologize for not calling on you earlier. We were talking about momentum of our staff and our teams when we took over. And Lisa, did you want to share if you had what the momentum was like when you took over as regional manager?
Um, it was like in between. You had some that was, positive and some were negative, and it still is. um, you just have to, do what you can do and go by policy. Um, you know, I feel like some people just don't like change, and I get that. But you're in a job that you gotta have to, like as you said, adapt.
Mhm.
I mean, the world changes every day, and like my favorite saying, it is what it is.
I had as a goal 1 year, I'm not ever going to say that phrase again. And then the next year, I was like, I'm saying this phrase all the time. It is what it is. I think I like the viewpoint more of it is what it is because I mean, there are some things that are just out of our control, right? You just have to accept it, adapt it, move on.
Mhm.
So yeah, so we have to be willing to make the necessary changes to change our momentum. And like I said to Emily, I mean, if it's negative momentum, it's negative momentum. We have to call what's the phrase, a spade a spade. I mean, you just got to call it what it is. If if the majority mentality was negative, then I don't think there's any shame in recognizing that. The key with today's conversation is talk about what do we do to change the momentum. Um, so leading change can be difficult. The other thing I was going to say, what Lisa's comment, some people don't like change. And what I have found is when you do a leadership styles assessment, whether you're using true colors like we use with some of our training groups, or we'll use DISC. In our lead VR, we use DISC to determine your leadership style. And people who tend to be the S style in DISC, DISC, as supportive, um, tend to not like change, tend to be the people you want to know, you want things to kind of stay the same and not rock the boat. And that's, as Emily said, it's not reality. Things are going to happen. But sometimes we don't like change because that's just how we are. That's our leadership style. That's our personality. It doesn't mean we can't adapt. It's just that's how I show up in the world. But me recognizing that for the staff that I lead is important too, because that helps me to shift how I approach you and how I communicate with you and how often I communicate with you. It helps me to know I need to check in with you a little bit more to see where you are because I know you don't like change. Leading change can be difficult. Some people do like change, but if you're the person leading the change, it can feel awkward because we feel like we're doing something new. So in the book, he tells us to do this activity. I'm going to ask you to just say, clasp your hands together. So put your hands together, however you do it, what comes naturally to you. All right, so then switch it up, do it differently. Put my hand, the right hand is the dominant hand. So switch it up to the left hand if your right hand was dominant. does it feel as comfortable to you when you change? No, it's not, because I'm used to doing it a certain way and my hands are gonna go back. So the other one is fold your arms across your chest. All right, once you do that, now fold it differently. I don't like that. I don't even know how to do it, Emily. I really don't. I don't know. I mean, what? No, that's not comfortable to me. It's awkward. It makes me feel self-conscious. I'm like, if it doesn't feel right to me, I can only imagine what other people looking at me are saying. And that's kind of how it is with change. And probably the reason why we give up on our New Year's resolutions every year, because it's not comfortable to us. In fact, we'll go back to what we used to do because we're familiar with it. It's more comfortable to us. And I don't want to do that anymore because it's awkward. It doesn't feel right to me. So leading change can be difficult because it's awkward to us. We've never done it before. And because we haven't done it before, we feel like maybe I'm not doing it right. And we give it up because of that awkwardness and the self-doubt it creates. We also, it can be difficult because we focus on what we will have to give up. If you're a good person and you have a nice organized closet, mine's not. If you're buying something, you probably are getting rid of something. Or maybe every season, if you're packing away your winter clothes, you might be going through and getting rid of the stuff that you're not using and you haven't worn in a year or 2 years. If we're going to have those nice organized closet, mine's a little packed up with stuff that I just can't seem to turn loose. And John Maxwell talks about hoarders versus people who like to throw things away. And he said that he gets joy out of throwing stuff away because he likes completion. His wife, she holds on to things like me. I'm going to use it again. Man, this is bag of puns I got from Buc-ee's, and I may want to hold on to this bag, even though it's almost empty. Well, I get back a use for this. Then it just sits there, right? I'm not going to use that bag. Just throw it away. We got to be willing to give up some stuff. And the only way we can have change to happen is to do something new, give up what we're used to doing. And this usually comes up when we are focused on change. We initially think about, what am I going to have to give up in order for this change to happen? And if I don't want to give it up, then I'm probably not going to adapt to that change. So we hold on to something. But it's not just things like this bag of pecans that we hold on to. It's also our thinking, our ways of thinking. And it kind of goes back to people who don't like to change, who've been in VR for 20 years, who don't want to try anything new. Well, we're always going back to 1982 when we used to do things this way. And so our brains are like those closets where everything is cluttered up, everything is overflowing, and we're only thinking about things that we used to do that really, and you think about it, they're not useful to us anymore. And so we're not willing to change our way of thinking, even though we know it no longer fits us. It's not going to help us. It's not going to support us. So we have to be mindful. For everything we gain, we lose something. We have to be willing to let go of some things. Are you a saver, or are you a person who throws things away? What was that, Shannon?
I said, throw it out. I'm a thrower outer, and my husband is a saver. So I have to wait until he's gone somewhere, or even to clean out the refrigerator. I have to wait until he's outside in the shop or something. And I go through and I grab all the things and throw them out. And I'm always recycling my clothes and taking things to Goodwill. And he has got clothes from when he was in high school still.
Oh my God.
But he don't get, yeah, but I'm definitely a thrower.
And definitely a saver. And it helped. There are times that it has come in great handy that I'm a saver.
I heard you say times. I didn't hear you say all the time.
Not all the time, but there are times that it's handy.
Yeah, I've done the throw things away or give things away, and then I'll turn around. I was like, man, where's that blouse that I used to wear? And then I'm like, oh, look at that throwaway. What about you, Jennifer or Lisa? Are you a saver or a thrower?
Throw it out. My dad is a major hoarder, and so is my boyfriend, and I can't stand it. I just throw it out.
Well, can somebody help me to learn to do that? I'm a pack rat. I don't know why, but I am. I always think that I am going to need it later.
But do you have a timeline or a deadline on if you don't use it by a certain date, Lisa, that you'll throw it away?
I should, but I'm ashamed to say I really don't.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think it depends on what it is, though. Because,
mhm,
like, one of the things that my husband and I argue about the most is I save our children's clothes. And now
mhm.
we have 12 children. So when it's outgrown, it goes in
Wow.
a box and it goes into the closet. And then I don't know, once every few months, I go back and open that box and I'm like, okay, what size are these things? Can another kid wear it? Now, when it's small enough that none of our kids can wear it, it can go away. But we also
You
have,
have a system.
I do, and it makes him crazy. But then we had like a family that's really close to us that their house burned and they have 4 daughters. So instead of saving that stuff for, our daughter or granddaughter that it's still too large for, I went through and picked out everything that they could wear and took them like 4 plastic totes full of clothes. So like it has a purpose. Like I'm not just gonna hang on to it forever.
Right. Yeah. I love that you have a
Unless I
system.
forget about it and then it'll
Yeah.
just hang out there.
No, that's great. I think where Lisa and I may be landing on some things is, oh, that's nice to have. I may use it, but then that may use it timeline just kind of extends into perpetuity. Like, but at some point, I'm gonna go back through and, well, I don't know. My garage may not agree with me, so let me stop. What about beliefs, habits, or things that you know you need to give up to go up? What do you got to give up to go up? What beliefs, what habits, what things do you need to give up to go up?
I need to get rid of the belief that everyone is going to do things the same way that I would.
Mm-hmm.
Because just because it's not just like me doesn't mean it's wrong.
True. That's a good one too, especially coming from a frontline position where you've done it all and now you're a manager. You know how things need to be done. You know how you did it and you were successful. So it's very easy to fall into that trap of saying, do it this way. But allowing people the freedom to do it their own way is really, it helps free you. As long as they know this is your area, uh, this is your power, this is where you can work, where you can operate, this is your breath of responsibility, and as long as you get the outcome, this is the outcome I want, have it. It doesn't have to be done my way. I think that's very freeing for people. Anything else, anything you're holding on to that's keeping you from embracing something new?
I think fear, and I don't even know what it is all the time necessarily, but it's fear. Maybe that I'm gonna do it wrong
Mm-hmm.
or not say the right thing, or but it's something that I feel like I have to mask all the time is that fear. And I don't even know what it is.
Oh, I think we all experience that fear. In fact, during COVID, I developed this curriculum for Lead VR and came up with all the modules. And then I had a focus, not a focus group, but like an advisory board of VR directors that I met with, and they gave input, and I redesigned it. And so I developed all the modules and set it aside for like 2 or 3 months where I just kind of sat on it and didn't do anything. And it was all because of fear of what if nobody likes it? What if nobody registers? What if, you know, what if I mess up? What if I fail? And it wasn't until I got like an email from my a colleague, a friend, John Conley at CSAVR, where he asked me, he had been on the advisory board, so he knew about it. And we had set a deadline and when we would put it when I would put it out there and try to get people to register. And he emailed me one day and said, "Hey, what's going on with this Leave VR? Why haven't you put it out there? You need anything with it?" So it's kind of like a push from behind to tell me you need to do this and stop holding on to it. And I always share that story because it just is a reminder to me not to allow fear to keep me from doing something that I know is the right thing to do. I know it's going to help people. But yeah, it just took one person emailing me to help me to say, okay, I'm just going to do it. Otherwise, I'd probably still be waiting and not putting it out there. Fear will keep us from doing things. The other things about change, the fear of being ridiculed, the fear of failure. And one of the stories he shares in the book is about Wilt Chamberlain and improving his basketball star, Wilt Chamberlain, changing the way that he did his free throws from an overhand shot to an underhand or a granny shot, the way we used to shoot when I was a kid. And he was basing it upon somebody, Rick Barry, who had a successful record of using the granny shot in the NBA for his free throws. And so Wilt Chamberlain said, "Well, I'm gonna start using that approach," and he did. He changed his shots to a granny shot, underhanded shot. And he went from scoring, having a 50, I want to say his free throw record was like 51%, and it skyrocketed. He went up to 80% or more, scored over 100 points in a game. But you know what he did? He stopped doing it. Even though it was working for him, he was being successful, he gave it up. Because he says in the book, he says he stopped doing it because he felt like a sissy, and he felt like he just felt stupid doing it. It felt silly shooting that way. It didn't feel natural to him, kind of like the finger thing, the hand claps thing. So he wasn't willing to put up with the embarrassment of doing the underhanded granny shot, even though it was working for him. So we can be afraid of doing something because of what people may say. We may be afraid of being embarrassed. Fear of failure will really keep us from trying things. But we all deal with fear of failure. So I guess at some point we have to get to the realization that fear is something we all deal with. Everyone is feeling at some point, and who do we have to be embarrassed for? I mean, if it fails, I'm still going to learn something. So if we're unwilling to change, it could be because of fear of embarrassment. So think about, what are we unwilling to change because we may be scared or embarrassed, or what changes have you made, and what would your life look like if you hadn't made those changes? I know for me, if I hadn't been willing to, first of all, come into a field like VR, higher ed, not knowing anything about VR, would have kept me from experiencing so many different people, so many different situations, and being able to do the good that we do in training. And what have I been unwilling to change for fear of being embarrassed? I think that was an example that I shared earlier. Some of the biggest changes I've made in my life, I think I'm still making them, to tell you the truth. I'm still working on some things, especially working in higher ed where you kind of do work in. My experience has been I started out in Hot Springs. Our office was there on the campus of the Math and Science School, Math, Science, and Arts, and working in an off-campus program. You kind of learn to do things on your own, and you kind of work by yourself. And now I'm on campus. And so my mentality has still been I got to do things on my own. And I'm having to shift and say, no, you're in a college and you're around these people. You need to start working, finding ways of connecting with the people around you. That's been my biggest issue, I think, since moving to Fayetteville area is if I don't make those changes and shift how I work in the university, that's gonna be my biggest that's gonna hold me back. It's gonna keep me from going up. Um, and a lot of that is fear of, I don't know this environment. And when you don't know an environment, it's like getting into a swim pool. You just kind of dip your toes in here and there. And until you just kind of sometimes you just kind of jump in and get completely wet. Otherwise, you're dipping your toes in, you're shivering, like, oh, let's go, let's go. If you just jump right in and let it get over you, you're okay. The other thing about leading change that can be difficult, we personalize change and we may feel alone in the process. We allow our emotions to overwhelm us. Emotions are not bad, they are emotions. But they sometimes the anxiety of change can rise. As anxiety rises, our motivation can go down. And so we have to remember if it's us being anxious and change or our staff, sometimes they're experiencing anxiety as well, and they just need a little bit of patience, acknowledge that they're human, and it's natural to feel anxiety, angst when there's change. So the question there is describe a time when you initiated a change, it didn't go well, and when did you get the greatest resistance to your decisions from others? And what is your usual response to resistance? I'm going to go first on that one. My usual response to resistance, we do a conflict assessment, and it gives you results as animals. And so the animal I usually show up as is a shark, and a shark is the person who is the aggressor. So in conflict, I'm gonna go toe to toe with you. I'm like, you come at me, I'm coming at you. So I'm a little aggressive when it comes to conflict. I like to win. It's a competition for me. And so when I have resistance, it can be hard for me not to want to go toe to toe with people. I have to calm down and recognize, like I said, here with anxiety, that everybody approaches change differently. And recognize if 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 someone's in their emotions, I don't need to rise to their level, that I need to be more of a calming factor and try to understand their perspective and show more empathy. So what do you think? Biggest changes you've made when it comes to change, or a time when you initiated change and it didn't go well? Or what's your usual response if there's resistance to a change? How do you handle that? Do you take it personally?
I usually don't take it personally, but if there's a lot of resistance, like my usual go-to is, okay, well, let's try this. Let's see how it works. And if it doesn't work, then we'll all come back to but also a lot of it is presenting it to my team in a way that even if in my brain they don't have a choice whether or not they do it, they feel like they have a choice.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, these are the options. We need to correct this problem. These are the things we can do. And of the options that are there, there's only really one that makes sense at all. And so, ultimately they're going to choose that option. But by presenting it as a choice, then they feel like they have the control.
Yeah. I like that. Great resource, great tool to use. Guess being a parent of 12 kids, you learn some things, huh? Negotiation.
Yes, and not just duct taping them to the wall, because that's what I tell my husband all the time. If you come home and they're all duct taped to the wall, just know that it kept me from killing them.
I would like to know more about that assessment that you took, though, Robin, that said you were a shark.
Yeah. It's the Thomas Kilman conflict assessment.
Okay.
Thomas Kilman, if I'm not mistaken, I'm saying that right. Let me look it up real quick, and I'll find it and send you a link to it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, Thomas
So,
Kilman
I had a
conflict mode
question.
assessment. Go ahead.
There's an assessment, like in the back of the book, there's like a website for a leadership assessment that says it identifies like areas in leadership where you may need more development. Is that something that you've done or you're familiar with? Do you recommend it or?
I did, because it referenced that in the first chapter. So yeah, there are lots of free resources that you can get on that website. So for sure, it does give you some good feedback about areas for improvement. Yeah, that's one of the things I like about John Maxwell is that he has great information, but he also provides great resources. The Plan Ahead is an acronym he developed to help us with change. If you're going to initiate a change initiative, if you're going to initiate a change, then use this acronym to help you along the way. Plan Ahead. P stands for predetermine the change that's needed. L is to lay out the steps. A is adjust your priorities. N is to notify key people. The next A is allow times for acceptance. H is to head into action. E is to expect problems. The third A is always point to the successes. And D is a daily review of your progress. So let's see. Predetermine the change that is needed. I don't know, that's pretty self-explanatory. What needs to be changed? Look at your environment and ask the questions about the strategy that you need to take. When he says lay out your steps, one of the things I like about that is that he's saying that you need to ask the questions of the people you're working with. So that's going to help you to figure out how to make the change. So before you begin the change, you got to know what it is you're going to be doing. You got to lay out the steps. So the best way to do that is to ask questions of the people that's going to be a part of that change process. And then adjust your priorities and think about, is it a cosmetic change or is it a critical change? If it's a surface level change or if it's a deep change. And then one of my favorite things about this acronym is that the N on plan means to notify key people. And you always have key people on your team, and they are the people who are influencing others on your team. And if you get those key people to agree, support the change initiative early, then you're going to have more success with the rest of the people on your team. So identify the key stakeholders and meet with them first, talk to them, use whatever reverse psychology you got to use to get them on board with the change initiative. So identifying those key people can be really important. And then allowing time for acceptance means that people adjust to change differently. We have to give people time to accept the change. That means we're going to have to check in with people more often, that we have to slow down. We have to make sure our communication is clear, our communication is simple. And then we have to give people time to process ideas. If you go back to the leadership assessment, and I'm thinking, well, there's a website where you can go, and it has all different types of assessments on it, a link. And one of those assessments is like a leadership style assessment. And I love it because it tells you your leadership style. And some leadership styles are, you'll find out that are less adaptive to change. And so if you do that assessment with your team members, I've seen that assessment used with people being sent by counselors to people with disabilities, because my husband has a disability, and he received that as an assessment to take. So it's a good assessment to do as a team, and then you talk about with that conflict, or with, you can talk about it as a team. This is what my leadership style assessment. These are the strengths of my style. These are areas where I may need to improve. That's a challenge for me. For instance, if I show up on DISC as a D, I usually show up as a DI, dominant influence. And these are people who like to get things done. They're goal oriented and may tend to like to work alone. So where that shows up may be a negative in the workplace is that I don't, I like for people to get to the point, right? So in the conversation with others, I do want to talk about, these are my strengths, these are areas where I need to improve. When it comes to change, I don't know. I just want to know, kind of like we talked earlier about, how is this going to impact me, or what do I need to do in this change initiative? I really am looking for the goal for me, whereas my neighbor may need more support along the way. So understanding how people show up helps us to know who are the team members that we need to allow time for acceptance, or who are the team members who are just going to pick up the ball and run with it. So that's important. The other areas head into action. So once you've built your process, you know what the steps are, you've notified key people, then you begin to call people into action. One of the things he says about action means commitment. If people either need to do or they don't, and they can't be on the fence at this point. So if people aren't doing, then that means they're not committed. There's only a what's it called? Not commitment, but consensus. Going along to get along. Expect problems. There's another tool that that I can share. I'll write it down to share. It is called a pre-mortem. Ever heard of postmortem, right? A postmortem is when someone dies, they do an analysis of what happened, what went wrong. Pre-mortem is before you start a project, you want to do a worst case scenario. You want to analyze, okay, we've come to the end of the project. Just think about, we've come to the end of the project and everything wrong that could happen happened. And so you begin to write those things out so that you can think about, plan ahead for the worst case scenario. So it's called a pre-mortem. It's a great activity to talk through, especially if you have your negative Nellies on your team who are always asking the what ifs. What about this? What if this happens? How are we going to do this? So this is a great activity with your team to talk through. Think through the worst case scenario first, and then you can begin to plan for making sure that doesn't happen. So that you wouldn't want to do that after you head into action. You want to do that up here and adjust your priorities, the pre-mortem. It's just that when it said expect problems, that's when I thought about it. So maybe put that out here in lay out your steps or adjust your priorities. And expect problems. So the good thing here is that you always want to check in and see how things are going, get feedback from folks, and adjust your priorities. And then while you're doing the action, always celebrate the wins, point to successes, and then review. Where are you on track? Where are you off track? And what needs to be fixed? There's some great merit with this acronym, plan ahead. What do you think about it? I got the pre-mortem, the conflict assessment, and then what was the other thing? The leadership styles.
I think it's I think it's a good process to figure out. But I get stuck in the probably allow time for acceptance because my brain says I've already gone through all of these steps. I've figured out this is what needs to happen. Now I'm open, absolutely open to feedback, but we can't take a week to decide to put this in action if it's something that's, if we've been told have this done by close of business. You don't have time to accept it. Just do it.
Yeah, on some things you definitely have stricter deadlines. But when you have the opportunity to allow people to accept and to do, then you definitely want to allow people the opportunity to adapt, to change.
I like the idea of the pre-mortem because when I present something at a staff meeting, it's well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And it's like, how did you think of so many things that could go wrong so fast? I just said, and they think of all these things and I'm trying to go, okay, well, we'll deal with that if it comes, or we'll talk about that. This is just, we don't have everything ironed out, but it's just a bombardment of questions about what we're going to do if this happens, what ifs.
There's a phrase called that goes, you're building the plane as you're flying it. And that can be frustrating to people who like to have the details and know everything. I tend to be more the person that you give me a broad goal and I'm going to put my own spin. I'm going to do it my way. I'm just going to go. I'm going to do it. But then I have colleagues who are like, well, wait a minute. I need details. I need from A to Z. And I'm over here like, no, let's just do it. Let's just go and figure it out. But for my colleagues, it's like, no, you need to slow down. And you need to tell me more. Both are fine. But I've learned that I need to slow down and to appreciate the questions because it helps me more in my planning. And it can be good if they're not being snarky. You know what I'm saying, Shannon? Like if they're not just coming up with what ifs just to be snarky or mean.
And I think we can use like Robin, what you said about, you just kind of go with it and other people need like more specifics. Like I'll have, like, if I say, okay, this is what we need to do, like some of my team will just go get after it. Like that's, they're gonna figure out their own way and that's great. But like when I send out this directive of this is what we need to do, they're always, which it's fine, but there are two particular people that are going to come into my office and want me to lay out a step-by-step form, and that's okay. But the people that don't need that sometimes will get frustrated if I do that as a whole and lay it out step by step. So I just, always, let me know if you need more guidance. Let me know if you have questions or, that. And so it gives them the ability to choose which one of those they want to do.
Mhm. I like that approach. Thank you for sharing.
Well, Robin, I liked what you said. I really just took that to heart, what you just said a few minutes ago about slowing down and appreciating the questions. I need to do that because sometimes they're just picking at me, but sometimes they really want to know. They have questions. And so that's, I think overall for me, that's one of my number one things is I just need to slow down, period. And then slowing down and work with those questions instead of feeling like I'm being bombarded with them. And because I think there is a difference and I can tell different times. And so I need to really focus on, is this one of those times that they're asking for information or they're asking just because they want to pick at me? So I just separate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And being able to know which of your staff, like Emily shared, really need the detail. And then if you have opportunity to have a pre-mortem meeting as a group to when you have more time to do that, I think is great. The final word is credibility. One of the things that we always share with folks in our trainings is this quote: people buy into the leader before they buy into the vision. They buy into you before they buy into the vision. So we have to have credibility with our folks, credibility that comes from influence, priorities, integrity, the things that we've talked about in the first 3 chapters. Because if they believe in you as a leader, even if you don't have all the answers, not supposed to, nobody has all the answers. If we did, we'd be God. Then if people buy into us as leaders, we're being focusing on building trust, focused on being vulnerable with people, building teams. They'll want what you want because they trust you. So really lean heavily into that first chapter where he talked about building relationships with people, influence, and putting people first in our priorities so that they will align with our vision, even if it requires change, even if it's hard, they still will buy into that vision. So the final word then, he says, is credibility. And to your question earlier, I do want to emphasize again in the book that he has, again, some great resources, even at the end of the chapters, some great resources, but also on that website, if I'm not mistaken, I'll tell it to you. I want to say it's just maxwellleader.com, 2 L's, maxwellleader.com to get that bonus material. Those are the leadership assessment. And I haven't gone back to chapters 2, 3, and 4 to see what other things are there, but I do know that leadership assessment is there and can be pretty helpful. Okay, so my goal would be, that's the end of this training, and my goal would be to do some small group coaching if you would like. We can set those up for May. And it would just be 3 sessions. And happy to add that to, it wouldn't be a book, it wouldn't be based upon the book, it would just be some coaching sessions. What do you think? That's a big commitment. And you were told to come to this training.
No, I think it would, I think it would be good. I think even just us as managers sharing with each other, being able to hear in different aspects, because yes, we sit down once a month in a manager's meeting, but we're all okay. Well, I don't know about Jennifer. I don't know how long Jennifer's been here. She was the only one that was here when I started, but I mean, Lisa started about the same time. But just hearing how other people are navigating kind of getting into this role is really helpful.
I agree.
Figuring out figuring out where our niche is with leadership.
Right. Yeah, I think some small group coaching would be great. I wish
Yeah.
we had our manager roundtables that we used to have.
Does that
What
mean
was
it
that?
would be, I'm sorry, does that
Go
mean
ahead.
it would be the four of us, or
Mhm.
how would that work?
Just the four of you. I'm looking at my
Okay.
calendar.
I would love that.
Yeah, that would be fine.
So the 6th, the 13th. I was making sure my Wednesdays I'm not doing anything. The 20th, it would still be, I can still do 3. I have a training from 1 to 3 that day.
The 20th, I don't know about everybody else, but I'm at the conference that week.
Yeah, I am
Oh,
too.
okay. What about the 27th?
Yeah, and that's
I think that works for me.
May
Mhm.
6th, 13th, and 27th at 3. I'll make a note. Okay. So I'll put that down. I'll send you the information along with this other stuff that I have to follow up with you about.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you. I know Emily, Jennifer, y'all weren't on last week, but here is the thing that Shannon and I found out, that we graduated from the same high school the same year.
Yes, we
We
did.
are high school graduates. And I don't even know that we knew each other in high school.
That's
I don't
crazy.
think
Y'all
so.
must have been in a very large high school, because I knew everyone in my high school.
No.
No, we weren't. We weren't, but when I told my friend that I had met you again, Robin, she was like, "So we are going to the reunion."
Yeah, we have our 40th high school reunion coming up on May 9th. It's going to be, we graduate from Van Buren High School. So no, it wasn't a big class in 1986. So this is our 40th high school reunion, and it's going to be at
Wow.
the Senior Center.
How
Don't feel
appropriate.
bad. My
Getting
30th
us
is
ready
coming
for
up
that.
in October, and they have also scheduled ours at the Senior Community Center.
Mm-mm.
I'm like, guys, we haven't even hit 50 yet. Do we really have to go to the Senior Center? And they're like, yeah.
Exactly.
I'm like, thanks.
Oh.
Thanks.
Well, all
Mm-mm.
right. Sounds good. I look forward to it, and I will send
Hey.
an invite for May 6th.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. See you
Thank
then.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Mm.